Well, here we are. Thoughts from the Office, Redneck's Pride Outdoors. I'm going to do a quick little video for the new trapper or snareman that's going after the raccoons. Now, I know you experienced trappers, you don't need to hear how to catch raccoons, and that's good and dandy, but what I'm finding is a lot of the newer raccoon trappers, whether it's for foot traps, cable restraints, cage traps, or whatever that you're using, some of the folks are having a little bit of difficulty, and the main reason is they don't understand the raccoon nature or the habits, behavior, and I get a lot of grief, if you will, when I say what I'm going to say right now. Raccoons have a circuit. I found this out in wildlife control. Now, I'm a fur trapper for over 55 years, 56 years actually. Wildlife control for over 46 years now. So, but it was wildlife control that showed me that raccoons have a circuit. If you got a ton of raccoons in your area, you're not going to see that circuit as a fur trapper. As a wildlife control person, you will see that circuit. As you're dealing with homes and your jobs, you're going to see that circuit if you pay attention. Your customer calls you up, tells you the raccoon is there 2 nights ago, you set the trap up, and it's another 5 to 8 days before a raccoon comes back. You saw the raccoon circuit. Now, the only way that changes on a job, now we're talking about, is if you're in one of these situations where where it's a social den and multiple raccoons are using it, and they are many. I've got places where you look at the grease on the downspout or the corner of the house and it's black. Well, you're going to catch a bunch of raccoons, but all the raccoons are not there at the same time. And when you talk to your customer, they're going to tell you, I heard it tonight, didn't hear it last night, didn't hear it the night before, but I heard it 3 nights ago, and then I heard the night before that, and the night before that. Okay, that just told you got 4 raccoons, more than likely. All right, maybe 3, but I'm not talking to you wildlife control folks. I'm talking to the brand spanking new fur trapper. And one of the situations that we run into is you go and you see where it's been wet, it's nice and wet along that stream bank and all that, and there's a ton of raccoon sign, and you set the trap up thinking, okay, tonight I'm going to be, filling my stretchers, and it's 3 or 4 days before you catch your first raccoon. And that's, people will say to me, what am I doing wrong? Nothing. You just got to wait for that. You got to wait for that circuit to happen again. All right. That's one of the curses of living in New Jersey, because our raccoon population is high, but it's not this Iowa raccoon population. All right, somebody catches 200-300 raccoons here in the state of New Jersey in the first season. You're putting yourself to the grinder, man. I mean, you're hoffing it. And the average New Jersey trapper is going to catch 30 to 50 raccoons, maybe 100 if you're putting yourself into the mode to catch raccoons, but most are only going to catch 30 to 20, 30, 40, or 50 raccoons. So I want to talk to the new trapper here and give them some ideas how they can catch the raccoons they want to catch faster. Now, typically, the average raccoon guy is going to go to a stream, a creek, a lake, a pond. And the reason we go there is because that's where the most sign is, and that's where we're told that's where the most raccoons are. But the reality factor is that is not even the case. Most of our raccoons here in New Jersey The bigger, better raccoons, they're not even near water. They're up on the highland. That's why I catch 20-pounders up in the housing developments. All right, their closest water's 2 miles away, but I'm catching a ton of raccoons in these places. And the reason is simple. The raccoon does not need water. Now, your younger raccoon groups, your family groups, will be by the water. Why? Because that's where the easiest food sources are for that south raccoon, the female raccoon, to teach her young how to hunt and catch critters. The minnows and the crayfish and crawfish, whatever you want to call it. Your freshwater clams, all that type of stuff. That's where it's the easiest pickings. But as soon as it freezes up, as soon as you get cold weather, you notice your raccoons along streams and creeks and ponds disappear. So where are they at? Well, ask any deer hunter. They're on his feeder. I was talking to a little boy yesterday. He just put a stand in last week. He put out a corn for his deer. 5 to 6 days later, he's got 10 to 15 raccoons on it nightly. So now what happened there? Well, it's simple. He created a circuit. That deer hunter that I was talking to created a circuit. He manipulated the normal raccoon habitat. He manipulated the normal raccoon behavior, and by offering the deer food, the raccoons found it, and they adapted and changed their circuit accordingly to be there as often as they can be. Okay? Now I want you new trappers, to think about that for a second. If I am going in, and I've already said it, that I've got to trap raccoons this year. I got to get my butt in gear here before it gets cold. I need raccoons for my glands. I'd rather buy them off of you, but if not, I've got to go trap them, and I got to go trap a bunch of them. And what I'm going to do, and I'm leaving this little bit of a tidbit for you. This is not for you experienced trappers. You don't need this. You know how to do it. This is for the new trapper. This is for the trapper that's just getting into this. Okay, so you experienced trappers, you ain't got to listen to this. Click it off, turn it off. But what I have found is I go into good I go into good I'm getting ready to take my grandkids rabbit hunting tomorrow afternoon. There's rabbits on my head. Go into good raccoon habitat where I know there's raccoons. And I can change their behavior. Pete Hyder and I have talked about this quite a bit in the Pine Barrens. You've got thousands upon thousands of acres of the same. The raccoons can come and go where they want to. There's a tremendous amount of raccoons, but how do you catch them fast? You bring them to you. Just like the deer hunter brings the raccoons to them, you as a trapper, you bring the raccoons to you. Now, I do this when I need to catch a lot of raccoons fast. And if the market went up, I learned this back when we had high dollar raccoons. When we was catching, $20 to $27 per raccoon. I use this method quite a bit, and simply what it is you go to key areas where you know the raccoons are there, and then I would dig in a draw station. Now you can do whatever you want on that. You use the cheapest stuff that you can. And the reason I dig it in is because it forces the raccoon to be there more. You see, when you just throw bait out on the ground, or you have a feeder throwing bait out, it's at the easy picking, and they can just clean house quickly. But I found by digging it in, okay, now, for example, you could take corn and dog food, the cheapest you can get. You take a 2-gallon pail and you mix half and half dog food and corn. You go out and you dig a hole in the soil. You pour the dog food and the corn in there, and then you dig it just 3-4 inches deep, at 5 inches deep, 6 inches. It don't have to be deep, but you dig that hole. You pour the corn in there, and then you mix that corn in with the rest of the dirt, and then you pour some on top. Okay? Within a week, now you take some of my persimmon oil, some of my persimmon or my purple passion lure, or midnight, or you can take molasses or something. You want something that's going to reach out, though, and you put that high, and you sprinkle that on the ground there also. Within a week, you're going to start seeing raccoons hitting you. And what you're going to do at that point is you're going to change their circuit. And you let them hit that thing 3 or 4 days, 5 days. And then you move in with your traps. This is one of the things when people hear me talk about, I want to be in a spot that I can catch 5 to 10 raccoons in 5 to 7 nights. This might be one of the ways I'm doing it. Now again, I'm not trapping raccoons for $3 like this. Okay, granted. But when I've got a contract and I'm getting paid good money to catch raccoons, and I got to catch as many raccoons as I possibly can, as fast as I possibly can, this is one of the ways I do it. I go out, I dig the bait in, I get them hitting it, get them to create the habit, and then I go in, and within 5 to 7 days, I can catch a mess of raccoons. Now, the only thing you may have to do, depending on if you're using dog proofs or you're using foot traps, you may have to come off of that station just a little bit. All right, what you'll have to do is set it up on the trails coming into it. If you're using cage traps, you can be right there on the site. But if you're using dog proofs, because you're competing with your draw station, you may have to just back off of your draw station a little bit to catch them before or coming back out of. All right. So this was just simply for the newer trapper that wants to go out and catch 10, 15 raccoons fast. You want to learn what you're doing? Try this idea. You're an experienced trapper, don't even listen to me. Folks have said to me, Jonesy, why don't you show pictures of or show videos of animals caught and all that? Truthful, I want the hassles. The anti-groups are, I just don't need the hate mail. All right. So I don't need to show animals in cages or traps or whatever too often. I do in the ADC field, but as a fur trapper, you're seeing maybe 1% of what I catch on the pictures I show. Another reason I don't show it is I don't care to impress you. I don't care if you think I'm a good trapper or a bad trapper or whatever. I don't. It doesn't. Whatever. All right. I remember Tom Zander. going back 30 years, 25, 30 years ago. I took in a bunch of fur to him, and I remember him saying this to me. Ron, the only people that's got to know what you catch is God, your wife, and me. Nobody else has to know. Keep that in your mind all the time. You know, I've held true to that for many, many years. Now, I'm being told I've got to do a hero shot here, yonder, and about. I probably have to. Because most of you folks aren't going to believe me unless I do a hero shot. But you smart, wise people, if you listen to what I'm saying, and listen to what other people are saying, you don't need to see a picture to know if it's going to work. Just think about what we're saying. Go to your situation and adapt what we say to your situation and come up with your own philosophy, your own mindset, and your own style. I don't want you Jonesy cloning. I don't want you doing what I do. I don't want you being me. I want you to be you. I want you to become a trapper on your own, with your own brain and your own thinking. Why? Because I want to preserve trapping. And what I've found is, being a trapping instructor since 1987 for the state of New Jersey, I've seen over all these years that when something happens, when somebody ends up on Channel 10 News and trapping is given a bad name, it's usually not an experienced trapper. It's usually a new trapper that's frustrated, doing things that they're told to do exactly. Do this, A, B, C, D, and it's not working. They get frustrated and they do something dumb, and they end up on Channel 10 News. So I find that if I can get you thinking, get you learning the animal behavior-wise and habit-wise, looking at your situation that you're in and adapting, you normally don't end up in problems. All right. Just thoughts from the office. I'll leave it there. Redneck's Pride Outdoors.